Greta Garbo, Elizabeth Taylor, Clark Gable, those Hollywood superstars from days gone by are remembered even today. And behind that star power was an acclaimed director who grew up in Knoxville. 10 News anchor Robin Wilhoit shares the legacy of Clarence Brown and how it plays out on the UT campus.
His name dominated the silver screen during the golden age of Hollywood. Clarence Brown was among the greatest film directors in Tinseltown. But with the passage of time, names fade, some disappear. Not Clarence Brown. His name holds a permanent place on the University of Tennessee campus, where it all started. Born in Massachusetts and raised in Knoxville, Brown was an ambitious student, enrolling at UT at the age of 15, earning 2 degrees by the time he graduated at 19.
One in electrical engineering, one in mechanical engineering. So those 2 degrees from the University of Tennessee kind of carried into his career of early filmmaking.
It eventually led him to the West Coast and set him on a movie-making path that spanned the silent film era at the turn of the century to the glitz and glamour of the 30s and 40s. Brown was dubbed the Star Maker.
And discover a baby deer.
Claude Jarman Jr. has an Oscar to prove it.
He really took a chance on me.
Now 88 years old and living in Northern California, Jarman recounts how Brown, on a scouting trip through the South, tapped him to play the role of Jody in his production of The Yearling.
And he came to my room in Nashville on Valentine's Day in 1945, saw me, and asked to be able to have a talk with me.
Yes.
Brown also launched the careers of a string of A-list actors.
He really launched Elizabeth Taylor in her career with National Velvet when she was, 14.
Clarence Brown's name graced the credits of more than 50 films, scoring him a spot on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Despite his star power on the West Coast, Brown never forgot his East Tennessee roots. When the football Vols scored an invitation in 1940 to the Rose Bowl in Los Angeles, Brown hosted a star-studded party at his home for General Neyland's team. More than 2 decades later, in 1967, UT leadership planned a party in Los Angeles for a Vols-UCLA matchup, hoping to raise money to build a new theater on campus.
They invited everybody who was famous in the film business or television business from Tennessee. So it was Dinah Shore and Minnie Pearl and Tennessee Ernie Ford. The only people that showed up at the Wilshire Hotel were Clarence and Marion Brown.
University leaders asked the couple for their support. The Browns donated $500,000, the equivalent of more than $4 million today. The director had a significant say in the planning and construction of the building that would ultimately bear his name. In 1970, the couple, flanked by Hollywood elite, were front and center at the dedication. The famed director returned to UT a few times before his death in 1987. And several years later, after his wife passed, the couple proved true to their word.
And when the will was probated, we found out that we were the recipients of a $12 million endowment that nobody knew except for Clarence and Marion. It was like the surprise of the century.
53 years after the first play took center stage, the shows go on at Clarence Brown Theater, and so does the legacy of its namesake in this place and its people.
It has given hundreds and hundreds of students opportunities that they would never have. And the mantra that we have here is what Clarence basically mandated. The mixing up of young actors and designers with first-class professionals is manifestly the only right method of training future theater artists. That is what we live by every day.
You can learn more about the accomplished director at the upcoming Clarence Brown Film Festival. It starts tomorrow and runs through Sunday. It will include screenings of some of his greatest movies, plus lectures and walking tours. We have a link to the schedule on WBIR.com.